I received a fairly long email from a man who is struggling with overcoming porn consumption and also struggling with some of the thoughts and feelings he has towards other women. I've broken down his email into roughly 5 questions and I will be answering each question one by one. I do not wish to make this too long, so I will begin my question/inquiry. Like many other Muslim men and women, I was exposed to porn from a young age, and I am a single Muslim trying to recover from this habit/addiction. But I have some questions and concerns. I have gone through a myriad of advice, guidelines and procedures to aid in overcoming this. So I perhaps feel I know all that I need to know in overcoming it. It's just about putting in more effort and taking the steps to do so. That aside, I have been having certain thoughts during this process of trying to recover. I have been exposed to so much filth of this bad habit and have engaged in filth that I attempt to repent and heal from. Do you think, so this is the first question that I'm going to answer first. There's 5 questions in total. First question, which is a combination. Do you think Allah willed for people to fall into porn and masturbation, or is this just a hugely catastrophic weapon of shaitan employed and created by humans with their free will and blackened hearts in order to lull the masses? I wrote down my answers to each of the 5 questions. This is just the first one, so that I can read out my answers and hopefully not forget what I want to say. If you have thoughts or comments, please share in the comments below. I believe that things can only happen if Allah allowed for those things to happen. But the question here is, do I think that Allah willed for people to fall into porn or masturbation? I don't believe Allah willed for people to fall into porn or masturbation. So that's in answer to the first part of the question. Because if we start to believe that oh, it's just Allah wills for me or someone to fall into porn or masturbation, what is happening then is we are shifting the blame onto Allah instead of taking responsibility for our own actions, because we have to think of who is responsible for their own actions. It's us as humans who are responsible for our actions. It's very, very easy to blame someone else or something else, and blaming Allah, for some people, blaming Allah could be the easy option to shift blame and shift responsibility. So blaming Allah for what you're going through is dangerous because it affects how you view Allah. And this is a trick of shaitan, because what would happen here is you would start to lose hope in Allah, and therefore you would also start to lose hope in yourself. Now, the struggle that people have when it comes to consuming porn has become more and more common in modern times, but you can think back to a time where back in history, there was a time perhaps where porn didn't exist in the manner that it exists now in terms of people being able to access it through the internet, through their device. There was a time back in history where internet devices, our mobile phones, our laptops didn't exist. And so it would have been difficult for, like, porn wouldn't have existed in that manner. But what existed instead of porn back in history were things such as people engaging in sex before marriage or sex outside of marriage. That was very common back in history. It's still common now. So if porn didn't exist, people would find other avenues to fulfill their sexual desires in a way that is displeasing to Allah, and people did do that and continue to do that. Now, with porn being so easy to access, people, you know, want to take the path of least resistance, and so it's much easier to open your device and access porn than go out there and find someone to engage in sexual activity with. So what I'm trying to allude to is the fact that humans throughout history have struggled with desire, not just sexual desire, many different types of desire. If you trace it back all the way to Prophet Adam, you can, we know the story of Prophet Adam and Hawa eating from the forbidden tree, because shaitan can very easily put thoughts in our head that allow us to lose hope in ourselves. And our struggle with desire, any type of desire, it could be sexual desire or other types of desire, our struggle with desire is part of our purpose and part of our test here in this dunya. If we didn't struggle with different types of desire, the test would be so easy, and we have to work in order to get closer to Allah and in order to, inshallah, achieve Jannah in the Akhirah. So the struggle with desire is a human struggle, and different humans struggle with different things. And in the context of this email, this person is struggling with sexual desire. And so part of our purpose is the fact that we will be tested in terms of how we choose to manage our desires and how we choose to act on them. Now, this person is obviously struggling with consuming porn and wants to overcome their porn consumption, but they're also struggling with some other thoughts. So I'll get into the next questions now. So the next question is, how do we overcome our psychological issues in connecting with Allah if we feel as though He put us through this ordeal? This kind of relates to the previous question, because what it seems as though this person is doing is they are blaming Allah. They believe that Allah is putting them through this situation. Now, Allah does test us, and many times those tests can be challenging and difficult to go through. But the test is not meant to be a means for you to blame Allah, such as, why, ya Allah, you putting me through this? The test is meant to be a means for you to rely on Allah to help you with overcoming the struggle or the challenge. So in answers to the question, how do you overcome the psychological issues in connecting with Allah? It's through knowing that connecting with Allah is exactly what you need in this situation to help you overcome this ordeal. It's kind of like Shaitan is giving you this idea that you are self-sufficient, that you can overcome this on your own. And for us as humans, when we go through something really difficult, a struggle that's really difficult, thinking that, oh, I'm on my own, I have to find a way to overcome this struggle on my own, puts a lot of pressure on yourself and distances you from Allah. But really, who is the one who is going to give us success in overcoming our struggle? It is Allah. So connecting with Allah will help you to overcome this ordeal. In terms of overcoming the psychological issues, I highly recommend committing to daily reading of the Quran, even if it's just a few verses per day. Do what you can. And when I say commit, I really do mean commit. Like, decide that I'm going to purify myself through wudu and I'm going to sit and read a few verses of Quran or a page of Quran per day, because Allah tells us that the Quran is a shifa, a form of healing. And so you are seeking psychological, mental and emotional healing. And so reading some verses of the Quran every single day can help you with that. Also, raising your hands to make dua. I watched a video recently that one of the reasons that we raise our hands like this is because even Allah is not in the sky. Allah is everywhere. But we raise our hands like this when we make dua because mercy descends from the sky. And so you are in need of mercy right now. You are in need of ease, in terms of ease to help you overcome this struggle. So raise your hands in dua. Allow the mercy from Allah to descend and pour yourself out into dua to Allah to help you with this. Also, it's really important to know who Allah is. Know what Allah is capable of. Do you believe that Allah is capable of doing and allowing and helping anything and everything that you struggle with? The answer is yes, but you have to believe it. So it's important to know who Allah is. And it seems through this habit that you have, it seems that you're actually seeking connection. Consuming porn is a way that you're trying to experience connection, but you've realized it's not working for you anymore and it's affecting you mentally and emotionally. So channel that connection into seeking the connection through Allah, kind of replacing the connection you seek, the fake connection you seek through porn, and trying to gradually replace it with connecting with Allah. The next question is, will Allah forgive people like me even if I may be too far gone? The answer is yes, Allah will forgive you. Allah forgives all sins. Even if you may be too far gone, even if you are too far gone, Allah can forgive any and every single sin. The fact that you're asking this question shows just how much you care about receiving Allah's forgiveness, and that's a good thing. Allow yourself to be imperfect. No human is perfect. Only Allah is perfect. So allow yourself as a human to be imperfect whilst you are on this journey of getting closer to Allah and on this journey towards healing. Know that Allah is the most merciful, the most compassionate. We say when we read the Quran, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Allah is the most compassionate, the most merciful. Allah can forgive the most evil tyrant. So why wouldn't Allah forgive you? Allah can forgive you and Allah will forgive you. It's just down to you to seeking that forgiveness, in repenting, turning back to Allah and seeking that forgiveness. And it's not a one-time thing. This is a daily thing. We are meant to, even if we think that we're not sinning, we are meant to seek forgiveness as much as we can, as frequently as we can. Where I mentioned that Allah can forgive the most evil tyrant, obviously it's only if that evil tyrant seeks forgiveness with sincerity. So that's the key here, is to seek forgiveness from Allah with sincerity. Okay, the next question is, how does one become a fully clean and desexualized person? This person has a fear that they will always look at women with an eye of lust. They sexualize women, they feel over attracted, kind of more than the base level of attraction. This person is saying, how do I as a man replicate the ease that women have in just living their lives, feeling aroused sometimes, but not acting on it? Is there something biological that differentiates men and women in this regard? Now, the answer to this is men and women both experience sexual desire. It might seem like women experience less sexual desire, but in general, that's not true. Women also experience high levels of sexual desire, but sometimes it can appear less due to cultural or societal programming. Now, in answer to the question, it's not about becoming desexualized, because it's a very normal, natural thing for women and men to experience sexual desire. We all have elements of sexuality within us. And so it's not about becoming desexualized, it's about learning and choosing to channel your sexuality and your desire in terms of choosing to be in control of your senses, especially your eyes and your ears, what you look at and what you listen to. Your eyes and your ears form part of your perception, and your perception feeds into your mind. And if you think about your mind is the platform for how we experience this dunya, how we experience this world, but your mind is also the platform for how you are tested by Allah. And being tested isn't a bad thing. Being tested is a means for your own purification, but also a means to get closer to Allah and a means to allow you to get into Jannah. If you're not tested, how are you going to get into Jannah? We get into Jannah through Allah's mercy, but how do we experience Allah's mercy? It's deciding, okay, this is a test that I'm going through, it's a struggle. Let me connect with Allah and ask Allah to help me with overcoming this struggle. Let me educate myself on how to make it easier for me to overcome this struggle. So really being very mindful and choosing on a daily basis to be in control, because you are in control, to be in control of your eyes and your ears, what you look at and what you listen to. Some people have mentioned things like it's been useful for them to do something known as a dopamine fast. If you have never heard of that before, you can just go and research it. Doing like a 30-day dopamine fast, and you're not fasting completely from dopamine, because we do require dopamine within our body, but there's like an imbalance of dopamine, or like a hormonal imbalance when it comes to dopamine that needs to be rewired through something known as a dopamine fast. And again, you can go and research that. In terms of the fear that you have that you are always going to look at women in that certain way, this appears to be a fear that's instilled in you as a trick from Shaitan. Because if you have that fear that, like, even if I try to stop consuming porn, no matter what, I'm always going to sexualize women, I'm always going to look at them with an eye of lust, you're starting to then allow yourself to become hopeless. And then you start to think, what's the point? Like, what's the point in me stopping porn if I'm still gonna always sexualize women? So that is a fear that seems like Shaitan is putting in your head. And so one easy thing there is to just on a regular basis seek refuge from Allah against Shaitan. And we say things such as A'udhu billahi min shaitanir rajim. That is, one way to fortify yourself and protect yourself against Shaitan. And the final and fifth question is, will I ever reach a point where I am above the need to sexualize others and berate myself with shame and guilt? Can the brain truly heal to be able to function as if I've never consumed porn? I at times am jealous of people who have never consumed porn and perhaps have been decent or good Muslims their whole lives. I wonder what such an existence is like. It must be heavenly. So in answer to the first part of the question, the answer is yes. Will you ever reach a point where you're above the need to sexualize others and stop berating yourself and stop feeling, huge amounts of shame and guilt? The answer is yes, absolutely, you can reach that point. This type of question signals to me, like the fact that you're asking this question signals to me that you've lost some hope in yourself. What do you need to do? This is me asking you a question. What do you need to do to start believing in yourself? And if that's too hard for you to do right now, what do you need to do to start believing in Allah's ability, because Allah is the most able? What do you need to do to start believing in Allah's ability to carry you through this struggle that you're going through? What do you need to do to get there, to believe in Allah and Allah's ability to help you? It seems like you are comparing yourself with others. The fact that you're like, I wonder what it's like for others who have never consumed porn their whole life. It must be so heavenly for them to exist in that way. Comparing yourself with others is dangerous right now, because it's like you are feeling a sense of lack compared to others. Every human goes through struggles. There might be someone that you know in your life or that someone that exists that has never consumed porn and is not sexualizing others, but that person has their own struggles and challenges that might be too much for you to go through. And you might think, oh no, I would rather have any other problem than this problem. But you need to trust in the fact that Allah says Allah will never place a test within your life that is too much of a burden for you to go through. So you have to believe that this struggle that you're going through is something that you can overcome. Believe in yourself, and if that's too difficult, believe in Allah's ability to help you with overcoming this. If you allow yourself to receive that mercy and guidance from Allah, open yourself up to it rather than kind of constricting and closing yourself. And what I would like you to do is this: every woman that you see, whether it's online, or every woman that you see in person, or every woman that you interact with, whether you interact with women online or interact with women in person, because it seems that you have an issue with over-sexualizing women or kind of sexualizing women, every woman that you see or interact with online or in person is an opportunity for you to receive good deeds. How? It's deciding that it's kind of like you have this fear of women, in a sense where like you are so afraid of like interacting with women, and maybe you still do interact with women, or maybe you're just consuming porn and that's your kind of interaction with women, but you are afraid of being in this cycle of sexualizing them all the time and seeing them with this eye of lust. But decide from here forward, your interactions with women are an opportunity for you to receive good deeds. And that's what we need in this life. We need good deeds. And how do you get those good deeds? It's deciding that I am in control with how I interact with this person. I mentioned being in control of your eyes and ears. If necessary, if you need to communicate with women where you are literally lowering your gaze, then do so. It is possible. And if you're worried that they may think that you're being rude, that is not your problem. That is their problem. Most women, if you decide that you're going to lower your gaze when you speak to a woman, if you need to interact with a woman, for example, in terms of work, and you decide that I'm going to lower my gaze or just like do a quick gaze and then to kind of lower your gaze again, do that if that helps you. And that is an opportunity for you to receive good deeds, because you have decided that I am in control of what I look at and what I listen to. So opportunity to receive good deeds. And also I want to mention that I want you to think of all the people that exist in the world. So many people have experienced different types of addiction or different types of compulsive habits in terms of what they're consuming. It might not be compulsive consumption of porn. It might be addiction to smoking, addiction to alcohol, addiction to drugs, addiction to sex, addiction to porn. It could be any of those things or a combination. But there are people that exist in the world that have overcome that type of consumption. Perhaps they worked with a specialist, they worked with a counselor or a mental health specialist, and they overcame that type of addiction. It took them some time, and there were probably some times where it was challenging or difficult for them, but they managed to stop that type of addiction. And so if one person can manage it in the world, and it's not just one person, there are so many people that have overcome their addiction. But let's just say if one person can stop, so can you. It comes down to you choosing to believe that you are capable and allowing Allah to carry you through this struggle. I also want to say, like, it's really important to find ways to reinstill hope within yourself. Decide to be positively optimistic about your situation and about the fact that you will overcome this struggle. Continue to say A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem. Continue to say Astaghfirullah over and over. Astaghfirullah can really, really be helpful. Just kind of channeling yourself and deciding, I'm going to say this over and over and over. I'm praying for you, and I hope that you overcome this struggle. May Allah bless you.